I'm just a regular cop, no fancy writing skills or anything, so bear with me. This happened a few months back, and I still get chills thinking about it. It's like something out of a horror movie, but I swear it's real. So I was on a regular patrol when I got this emergency call from a neighbor. They said they heard screams coming from the house next door. I didn't think much of it at first, just another domestic dispute maybe. But man, was I wrong. I drove up to the house, lights flashing and adrenaline pumping. The night was darker than usual and the wind was howling like a banshee. The neighbor who called was waiting outside, her face pale as a ghost. She pointed to the house, stammering something about terrifying screams and a crazy woman. I approached the house cautiously, my heart pounding in my chest. The front door was slightly ajar and a dim light flickered from within. I radioed for backup just in case and took a deep breath before entering. It was like walking into a nightmare. Inside, the air was heavy with a metallic smell. Blood. I followed the sound of eerie laughter echoing through the halls. My flashlight shook in my hand as I moved toward it, praying that it was just some sick prank. But then I saw her, a woman, covered in blood, her face twisted in a crazed grin. She was holding a knife, waving it around like it was a toy. Blood streaked across her face as she clawed at herself, laughing like a maniac. I froze for a moment, my brain struggling to process what I was seeing. It was like I was trapped in a horror movie, but this was real life. I shouted at her to drop the knife, but she just kept laughing, her eyes wild and unfocused. I could feel the sweat dripping down my forehead as I took a step closer, every instinct telling me to run, but I couldn't leave her like that. She was hurting herself, and I had to do something. I tried to reason with her, my voice shaky as hell. "Hey, put the knife down, let's talk, all right?" I said, trying to sound as calm as possible, but she didn't listen. She lunged at me with the knife and all hell broke loose. I barely had time to react. My training kicked in and I managed to dodge her first strike, but she was fast and relentless. She slashed at me, cutting through my uniform and grazing my arm. I knew I had no choice. I aimed my gun and fired a warning shot, hoping it would stop her. But she didn't stop. She just laughed harder, her eyes burning with some kind of insane fire. I had no other option. I aimed and shot her in the leg, hoping to incapacitate her. She fell to the ground, still laughing, blood pooling around her. Backup arrived just in time, rushing in to restrain her and call for medical help. As they tended to her wounds, I stood there, shaking like a leaf. I had never experienced anything like that before. The sheer terror, the adrenaline, and the feeling that I had walked into a living nightmare. Later, we found out that the woman had attacked her roommate in a fit of madness. It was like something had snapped inside her and she had gone completely off the rails. I couldn't wrap my head around it, but I knew one thing for sure. That night would stay with me forever. Hey there, I've been a cop for a few months and I gotta tell you about this real crazy thing that happened to me and my partner. This one night, it was like something out of a movie. So we're cruising around on a regular patrol when we get this call on the radio. Dispatch says there's a lady who dialed 911 all freaked out, saying she thinks someone's broken into her house. Now it's dark outside, and the thought of someone sneaking into your place when you're all alone, that's enough to give anyone the chills. My partner and I, we race to the scene, lights flashing and siren blaring. We find the house and this lady, she's standing there with a baseball bat looking like she's ready to take on the world. We calm her down, get her to sit in the back of the patrol car and start checking the place out. We step inside, flashlights cutting through the darkness. I tell you, the silence in that house was thick enough to slice with a knife. My heart's racing as we move from room to room, checking for any signs of forced entry or anything. And then things start getting weird. I hear this faint sound like footsteps or something. My partner and I exchange glances and we start looking around trying to find where it's coming from. We're whispering to each other, our breaths making clouds in the cold air. It's like we're playing a game of hide and seek, but the thing is, there's no one to be found. The sound keeps moving. Now it's in the hallway, now it's in the kitchen. But every time we turn a corner, every time we shine our lights in a new direction, there's nothing. No one. It's like the sound is playing tricks on us, messing with our heads. We keep searching room after room, but it's like we're chasing a ghost. And then finally, we make our way to the living room. I sweep my flashlight across the room, and that's when I see her. This woman standing in the corner. She's wearing this tattered dress like something out of the past. Her hair's all tangled, and her eyes, I can't even describe them. They're like empty holes just staring into nothing. My partner and I freeze. We're looking right at her, but it's like she ain't even there. And here's the kicker. We had just checked that room a few minutes ago. There was no one there. But now there she is, like she's been there the whole time. I feel a shiver run down my spine, and I look at my partner. He's pale as a ghost himself. We back away, slow and careful, keeping our eyes on her the whole time. And then just like that, she's gone, vanished into thin air. We hightail it out of there, find the lady in the patrol car, and tell her what we saw. She's white as a sheet, her grip on the bat still tight. We call for backup, but when they search the house, there's no trace of the woman. To this day, I can't explain what happened. It's like that woman. She wasn't supposed to be there, but she was. And I can still see those eyes like they're burned into my memory. So, yeah, that's my story. It might sound crazy, but I swear on my badge, every word of it's true. And if you've got any ideas about what we saw that night, I'm all ears. 'Cause let me tell you, it's a mystery that's gonna stick with me forever. It was a regular night shift. Me and my partner cruising around, taking care of business, you know the drill. But then we got a call, a 911 call that turned our whole world upside down. The dispatcher said some guy called in, worried about his sister and her family. They'd gone quiet for days and he had a bad feeling about it. He needed us to do a welfare check on them, see if they were okay. Seemed pretty standard, right? Well, buckle up, 'cause it sure didn't end that way. We pulled up to this house, nothing too fancy, just your average suburban home. Lights off, no sounds, just quiet, too quiet. My partner and I exchanged glances, that feeling of something ain't right creeping up on us. We headed to the back door, and what do you know? Wide open, red flag city. Stepping inside, the air felt heavy like a storm was brewing. We moved slow, flashlights scanning the place. Empty rooms, disheveled furniture, signs of a struggle maybe. But no people, no sister, no husband, nothing. That's when the hairs on the back of my neck stood up, a chill running down my spine. Just as we were about to call it in, my partner's flashlight beam caught something in the corner. A pair of eyes, glinting like a wild animal's in the darkness. We drew our weapons, heartbeats pounding. The figure shuffled forward, and it was like our worst nightmare was staring us in the face. This guy, this homeless-looking dude, was covered in blood. His eyes were vacant, like he'd seen hell and back. We demanded he show his hands, but he just stood there smiling like a madman. That's when we smelled it, the unmistakable stench of death. As our flashlights swept the room, I saw them. There they were, the sister and her family, lifeless on the floor. I ain't gonna sugarcoat it. It was gruesome. The horror of it all hit me like a punch to the gut. The homeless man had done the unthinkable, killed him, and started eating him. I kid you not, I've seen my fair share of messed up stuff, but this was a whole new level of nightmare. Adrenaline pumping, instincts kicking in. We ordered the guy to back off, but he just kept coming. It was clear he was beyond reason, beyond anything human. We had no choice. It was him or us. Shots rang out in that house, echoes of desperation and survival. We had to put him down, and the madness he'd brought to that home. Even as the echoes faded, the silence that followed was deafening. We were breathless, covered in sweat and blood, standing amidst the aftermath of a scene that would haunt us for the rest of our lives. The sister, the husband, their lives stolen in the most brutal way imaginable. I'll never forget. A night that made me question the darkness that can live within us all. Stay safe out there and watch your backs. You never know what horrors might be just around the corner. Thank you for the support, guys, and remember to hit the like button and to subscribe to Office 13 for more content.